It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to another exciting, worth watching episode of the program Regnum Continuous Legal Education. Welcome back. How are you doing? I believe you. welcome, and of course it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to another beautiful and worth watching episode of the program Regnum Continuous Legal Education. I believe you're doing great, and of course I believe that all the episodes we have been bringing to you on Regnum, you have been ensuring that after the program you go back to watch. Remember, ignorance before the law is not an excuse, so you have to stay grounded. In Regnum Continuous Legal Education, we do our best, to keep you grounded with all principles that embodies law. We ensure that wherever you are, you know your right and you know what is obtainable to you as an individual and also obtainable to you living or being a citizen of a state or a country. So good to have you join us once again on this beautiful episode. I am Peace Smith, reaching out to you on Starcross Television. And of course, as usual, on this episode, we have wonderful erudite resource persons that are here to keep you grounded, to make sure that you unlearn, you relearn, and of course, you stay learned on what has to do with law. So joining us on this episode, this edition, I have none other than Brother Justice Ayakwa. It's almost like a regular resource person here. Good to have you here, sir. How are you doing?
I'm fine.
Okay.
It's my pleasure to be here.
All right, good to have you.
Yeah.
Also, we will be having Brother John Usani, who will also be joining us via Zoom. For now, I don't know if he's here with us. Greetings to you, sir. How are you doing? We'll have to start while we wait for him to join us on this particular episode. So what is the topic for this edition? Our topic for today is cyberbullying and the law. Part 2, cyberbullying and the law, part 2. I believe that to those who have been following us, you were opportune to watch the part 1 where we discussed a lot about cyberbullying. So today we will be taking it to a different pedestal that you will have to get a pen, grab a paper, sit tight. Like I said, grab a bottle of your juice, whatever you want to make out of it, even a popcorn or whatever, and sit tight because you will be learning a whole lot on this particular edition. So I think we have him now already with us. Greetings to you, Brother John Usani. How are you doing? All right, so let's start. Good to have you here, sir, once again. So today we will be looking at cyberbullying and the law. Now let's start with understanding what is cyberbullying first before we go in depth into the discussion for those who are just joining us newly.
Once again, I want to thank the Holy Father for availing us this opportunity to share in the knowledge of the law and also let audience, viewer understand the nitty-gritty of the law. Your topic, cyberbullying and the law, is a very special topic and trending one indeed that requires a regular enlightenment like this to keep people abreast with what the law says, especially in this part of the world, Nigeria in particular. Cyberbullying is a cyber crime. Normally, or in the past, before 2015, you hear this common complaint that children go to school and they are bullied. Even adults are bullied, and it has dovetailed to a stage whereby the electronic media, the digital data usage had become a common tool for such act of bullying. Ordinarily, I will say that there is no universally acceptable definition of the word cyberbullying.
Okay.
It all depends on what and how you perceive of it. And there is a law currently in Nigeria that prescribe the act of bullying In fact, it defines it as a crime. Okay. It criminalizes the act of bullying. And at that point, where one will say, how do I commit the offense of cyberbullying? The law is there to define conducts that can be said to have the offense of cyberbullying. And that law is the Criminal Cybercrime Prohibition, Prevention, Extra Amendment Act of 2024.
Okay.
That law, that Amendment Act had the original law in 2015. The Cybercrime Prohibition, Prevention, etc. Act 2015
okay.
was later amended in 2024. So in course of discussion, we'll delve more. And let me also make it clear that sometime in the 1990s, Monica Williams, Willie, an American lady who had a sexual relationship with the then president of America, Bill Clinton, was made, that act of sexual immorality or so was made known to the public. Then the use of social media wasn't rampant. So when the news was let out, people started sharing it on their emails or messages. It amounts to cyberbullying, and it traumatized.
Is it because the information wasn't verified or what?
It was, but it was spread.
Okay.
Once you spread it with the intention to harm the victim, the person that is in the act, that it amounts to cyberbullying.
Okay.
So much later, laws revolve according to technology, according to introduction of the internet, the digital. So once you use that medium, that means of communication, like today we have the TikTok, we have the X, formerly Instagram, and all of that. If you use those platforms to spread information about a person with the intent to harm the person, then you have committed the act of cyberbullying.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Thank you for the definition of cyberbullying and, of course, citing some examples and the law that actually governs cyberbullying. But I'll still like to bring in Brother Sam John Useni, who has actually joined us right now. Good to have you here, sir. How are you doing? Looked at the law that governs cyberbullying. But then I would like you, because we still have like new persons who have joined us in this program, I would like you to look at some of those various acts that really amount to cyberbullying. Specifically, please.
Erudite senior colleague, I extend my regards to him. Okay, just like my learned senior has been able to critically dissect the meaning of what cyberbullying would mean, just like he has stated, there is no specific meaning as to what it means. It is relative and contextual, considering the circumstance, although the act, which he rightly cited, has specifically made certain acts that will amount to what can be termed as cyberbullying. And let's just say that cyberbullying is coming from the word cyber, and then bullying, which we already know as the usual term we use, but normal bullying in terms of school and the rest, homes and domestic related. And when you say cyber, we're talking about a digital space, basically, probably through mobile devices and the rest. So we are saying cyber, if we are now looking at it in that context, we are saying the bullying that occurs in a digital space, a behavior that occurs in the digital space, primarily on the internet via mobile devices. So most of these acts that we can now consider, coming back to your question, that will amount to cyberbullying, the acts, the Cybercrime Prohibition and Prevention Act has clearly provided for it under Section 24, Sub 1. According to that act, it says anybody who sends, he or she who sends or cause to be sent any message or material that is grossly offensive, let's say for instance, pornography, indecent, then obscene, menacing in character, or you send a false message for the purpose of causing annoyance, inconvenience, danger, obstruction, or basically you insult or cause injury via or through criminal intimidation, enmity, ill will, or needless anxiety to another person. This amounts to cyberbullying. Let's take, for instance, we understand that most times people can just, take up your phone number or chat you up on the internet using any of the social media accounts. Because of the space technology has gone in the recent time, people who are currently on the social media, you get to meet people you don't know. And then the conversation stripes, you begin to get close, you exchange certain key informations. And then if peradventure the other person has a criminal intention and he decides to use that information against you, the act has stipulated that such act as an act of cyberbullying, because the intention is to cause the person danger or obstruction whatsoever. So the acts basically that we can consider as cyberbullying is one, when in the course of your interaction with this person, and then you could go private, and then some of private images are shared, and then the person have some sensitive private images of you, and the person eventually, which is I think we've heard a couple of cases where people will say some people are blackmailing them with their private images, that if they don't pay them a particular amount of money, it will be released or published online for the whole world to see. And a lot of people have fell victim as a result of this act, because of the scandal that will portray, and then probably how they will feel afterwards. So most people just take their time to go online, look for innocent people that they will engage in conversation, and then get this sensitive information from them, which they will now use it as a means of blackmail. So an act of blackmail, an act of blackmail, any intention, targeted act, causing the person undue danger. If, like now, if you go further in the act said threat The act mentions specifically threat is an act of cyberbullying. Threat with the fear of death. When you say, if you don't do this thing, I am going to kill you. And then some will say, if the money is not provided by so time, then we are going to kidnap you. The act had contemplated all these acts and then listed them as those acts that will constitute the act of cyberbullying. So that is what will constitute. I don't know if my learned brother would have something to add to it.
Before he also come in, I've not heard you talked about maybe any child molestation or something, or any. Okay, let me ask this question: does cyberbullying also covers child maltreatment in any form that it may take? I would like Bro Justice to talk about it.
Cyberbullying has a little part of the child molestation, which the Child Rights Act avails for the children. What we are saying in effect is that before 2015, the Criminal Code Act had already laid the foundation for such act of cyberbullying to be considered as being criminal.
Okay.
Once you send those misinformation, discriminatory messages, disinformation and misinformation, you create an impression about somebody, even the child, and put his reputation at stake.
Okay.
It amounts to cyberbullying. Essentially, cyberbullying is more for the adults.
More for the adult, okay.
The one we normally know for the children is the physical contact, where they find themselves in the schools. You see one child harassing, intimidating, threatening the other child. That one is the bullying itself. So once it's on the electronic data or social media space, it becomes a cyber crime.
Okay.
And which the Cyber Crime Prohibition, Prevention, etc. Amendment Act 2024 rightly prohibits. Once you commit such an act, like my brother has said, intimidate, harass, or even threaten, it amounts to a cyber crime.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, sir, for that clarity. Now, let me bring in Bro John again to the conversation. We have, let's talk about the civil and criminal liabilities. Let's look at the distinctions. Are there any distinctions between the civil and criminal liabilities in cyberbullying cases?
Very much for that question. To answer you directly, yes, there are. And then going forward to explain, the act makes it an offense. When we talk about offense, it means it is the criminal consequence that comes with or probably the punishment that comes with such act. So the act talks about provides for the offense for cyberbullying. The act makes 3 categories. That is, it outlines the offense of cyberbullying into 3 categories. 1, threats that arises from or is targeted to an individual which causes fear of loss of life. 2, threats that is targeted to an individual, which causes fear with respect to properties. So the Act now categorizes those aspects of offenses. And then they said anybody who is found guilty, bear in mind, in the previous question you asked, we listed the act. So now we are just saying all those acts targeted towards human. And then all those acts targeted towards the property of a person. And the act looks at it, said, such person will be liable to imprisonment for 10 years. Or maybe weeks, because it is at the discretion of the court. The court can make the punishment jointly or either with an option of fine. So the fine provided for that is 25 million naira. So the civil aspect now, if you look at the civil aspect is a party who feels he or she has been subjected to cyberbullying may recourse to civil remedy procedures. And the provisions for the civil options are: one, a party can bring an action for defamation. That, look, what you are doing is an act of defamation, and defamation can be both criminal or civil in nature. You know, one thing about an offense, a crime, is that a crime, what comes with a crime is that the consequence for a crime is punishment or sanctions, as so to say. But civil remedies, what comes with a civil action is you'll be entitled to certain remedies under the law, which invariably you might be entitled to damages and compensation. So a party can actually maintain an action for defamation under the civil rights, and then a party can also bring an action for invasion of privacy, depending on the nature of the act or the offense, the act committed. Then you can bring actions for, let's say, emotional damages. Those are civil wrongs that may be availing to a party who feels that he has been affected by an act of somebody who intends to use the media space to bully the person. But other than this, the act provides for criminal punishment, which is imprisonment or options of fines. That's basically what it is. So a party who feels aggrieved can take either any of the options or even both, as the case may be. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, for that clarity. And while you're also adding, let's look at the law enforcement. What are they actually doing to ensure that they target this issue of cyberbullying? And let's also look at the possible limitations so far.
Another aspect of the cyberbullying that we're yet to touch on is that of the cyber stacking.
Okay.
When there is a continuous monitoring or of threatening behavior
or harassment
okay. Online. Okay. When somebody continuously sends threatening messages via emails or even on the social media platform, the Facebook, the WhatsApp, the platform, and just name them, it becomes cyberbullying.
Okay.
And it is punishable as prescribed by the Cybercrime Prohibition, Prevention, etc. Amendment Act 2024. Where you see people impersonating. They create,
I was going to even ask you about that.
yeah, they create fake social media platform with fake ID, and they just put up information with some other person's name, all in a bit to project the person in a bad light and give the impression that such information comes from the person, whereas they are impersonating the person. That amounts to cyberbullying.
Okay.
In fact, it can also be brought to court and be charged for cyber stalking.
So what's the penalty for that?
2 years. 2 years imprisonment. Yes.
Wow. Okay.
2 years imprisonment.
That sounds very light if you ask me. Sorry, because someone might decide to do it. Is it not just 2 years?
Well, you can look at it from that point of view. If it depends on the level of damage the victim had suffered.
Cost, okay.
And the court can equally increase the jail terms, accompanied with a fine. Accompanied with a fine. We're just limiting the cyber stacking, and you look at it critically, it has become a very serious issue in Nigeria. From 2015 upward to 2026 in Nigeria, we have seen and heard of cases being brought against those that commit the act of cyberbullying. They take them to court. A very recent one is the Omoshere's case. There are some journalists who are into investigative journalism who are alleged to have committed the act of cyber stalking, and they are charged to court by EFCC, the Economic and Financial Crime
Okay,
Commission.
they come into...
They come into... So when, as a follow-up to your other phase of question, the enforcement of the law lies with the Nigerian police force that have cybercrime unit, and the EFCC, the Economic and Financial Crime Commission, that also have the cybercrime department.
Okay.
They enforce the law. They are charged and empowered to investigate complaints that borders on cyberbullying, and also to prosecute.
That's on report, like if the victim happens to go there and report the issue?
Of course, that of Shomore's case, he openly called the president of this country a criminal.
Okay.
The president need not to complain as such. The EFCC swung into action. DSS also swung into action, and is facing currently a charge of cyber stacking.
Wow.
Yes.
So does it, sorry, I think this is a topic that we ask questions as we are going. So is it limited to maybe, let's say, an influential person in the society?
No,
or even a poor man suffering such issues? Because nowadays we have people who go online just to, dirty your image or impersonate you or stalk you just to, paint it dark, black or something. So is it limited to, okay, if you are influential, you can actually call the law enforcement agency to actually tackle that, or you as an individual, regardless of your financial standing in the society, can actually do that?
The Cybercrime Act 2024 has no classification of personalities.
Okay.
It simply provides, if you conduct yourself in this manner that is considered as a threat, as an intimidation, or as an attempt to blackmail, cause harm to a victim. It did not say the president, the vice president, the governors, or even the local government chairman. It did not in any way. It's a law that is provided for every individual, every citizen, every foreigner, in as much as one's conduct to a large extent has affected negatively on the other person, the Cybercrime Act will take its course.
Okay.
The problem,
Just getting started, there's a lot to talk about when we are looking at cyber bullying. Make sure you continue. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Yes, you're still watching the program Regnum Continuous Legal Education here on Starcross Television. And of course, we're still looking at the topic cyberbullying and the law, part 2. So if you're just tuning in or you've been staying glued to your TV sets right from the beginning, I believe that you have lots of questions and comments to, share. So make sure you go to our Facebook page or our YouTube channel at BCS Starcross Television. Send in your comment, send in your questions, because we have legal practitioners here live, to do justice to your questions. I believe that from the beginning of the discussion, where we looked at definition of cyberbullying, we also looked at some of the acts, the forms in which it takes. I believe you have also learned a lot about that. So we will be progressing. Remember, we also looked at the law enforcement agency that looks at that deals with cyberbullying, particularly EFCC, Economic and Financial Crime Commission, and of course the police department, which look into cyberbullying. So far we are moving ahead, we are progressing, and I believe you're also following. A teacher once said, if the students are not asking questions, it seems they know it all. So I believe you watching, you also know what we are talking about here. But if you don't know, make sure you send your questions coming and your comments. We are here to do justice. So we still have here with us Brother Justice Ayakwa. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you.
And of course, Brother Sam John Usani joining us via Zoom. Welcome back, sir. I don't know if he's still there. Brother John Usani, are you there? All right, welcome back. So, Brother Justice, before we went on that break, agencies that actually deals with cyberbullying, and of course he has pointed out some of the limitations. I don't know if you have anything to add as regards to what he said, but if you don't, I would like us to progress. Let's look at how effective, because he has talked about the agencies, but now let's look at how effective are the current legal frameworks in deterring cyberbullying in Nigeria. How effective are these agencies or legal platforms?
Okay, thank you very much once again. Just like my learned senior has stated about the agencies saddled with the constitutional powers to, enforce the implementation of the act, is very correct. The Nigerian police are there. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission are also there. And then for the ones we are seeing lately about the presidency, we discovered that it's the DSS that they are using to prosecute most of the offenders who are targeting the government officials. And by that aside, looking at the challenges, right? If I'm correct, if I got your question right, the implementation of...
No, how effective? Can you hear me?
Yeah, can I get that?
Can you hear me? The
Yes, I can hear you
how
now.
effective are these legal platforms or legal agencies in tackling or deterring cyberbullying issues in Nigeria?
Well, all I can say now is that they are doing their best, but I think they have a whole lot to do, because enforcement of the cybercrime offenses is quite a bit technical, because you find out that a lot of things happen in the internet space, whereby people just come with anonymous images, anonymous name, then come online to, take certain steps and then orchestrate and perpetuate their act. So it's going to be a bit challenging on their part if certain mechanism can be put in place in terms of getting the right channel to see how they can uncover the anonymities. Those people disguise themselves with fake images and different names in carrying out this act. And then another thing I think this agency should go about in implementing is the awareness, creating public awareness. Let the people out there know their rights, just like what Starcross TV is doing now. Most people do not know that all these things they have been facing are actually an offense provided by the law, and it entitles them to certain redress under the law. So this amongst others are some of the challenges there. And then if we look at what these agencies should also consider in enforcing it, is because the internet space, if you agree with me, is quite large. Somebody can be in US and then carry an act of cyberbullying or cyber stalking here in Nigeria or anybody in another country. They need to look at the approach, the appropriate measures to take regarding can be taken in terms of issues that comes up where somebody is not within the country and such person is, orchestrating such act. And there are a whole lot, but so far with the implementation and then with the drive on cyberbullying, I noticed that basically the people who are really, exercising their rights under this act are the socialists, the politicians, and the rich people. They are the ones who are actually using it to get at the people who are really making comments or probably oppressing and intimidating people. So that's just all I have to say regarding that.
Okay. You're still on. Let's look at our Facebook page because we have a comment here from Sister Gladys Onyebo. She's saying, very interesting and educative topic, awesome, but kindly throw more light on why cyberbullying is treated with gloves hands in Africa, but here in the Western world, it is a serious issue. Please, sir, can you do us the honor of looking at that, treating that?
Something in my last discussion that the challenge we have currently is that most of the citizens are not even aware of the existence of this act. This act was passed came into force in 2015 and then later amended in 2024. Apart from the socialists, the politicians, and the so-called people who say, the so-called big people who are taking advantage of this, most people are not really aware of their rights under this act. A lot of people, let's say, most of the citizens in the country may not even know about the existence of this act. And then most of them just look at it as a normal vocal abuse, nothing to be taken too serious. And then some of them will just say, okay, let me leave it to God. So it all depends on the level of awareness and then how the approach the people will take towards it. The Western country is quite different. Their awareness towards their rights is really, really different from what we have in Nigeria. At times, some people in Nigeria, they tend to overlook certain rights because they just feel like it's not worth the stress. And that's why you see that most times, most of these things are being swept under the carpet. Just like I stated, from experience, what we have been able to observe so far are just people of class, political class, abusing the act, using it to oppress or fight their enemies. That's just what has been going on so far.
Wow.
Mm.
Mm. All
So
right. Thank you
basically,
so
that's
much. I
just
think.
what.
Okay. Thank you so and doing justice to the question asked by Sister Gladys Onyeba. I believe she's okay or satisfied with the response so far. But please, if you're not, do well to keep sending in your questions. We are live. We are open for your questions. We are open for any observation or comment you choose to make. Remember, we are still looking at the topic, cyberbullying and the law. Cyberbullying and the law. Thank you so much, Brother John. Okay, now I think I have to bring in Brother Justice. He has been nodding and nodding. I believe you have a whole lot to add to that. But while you are adding, now let's look at let's have a comparative legal model, as used in other countries. And let's look at those legal models that you think Nigeria can adopt to better its system. Remember, Brother John said that we are abusing the law here, that the rich are using it to, or the politicians, I'm sorry to use this, but the politicians are actually using it against the opposing parties and all of that. So let's look at those legal models. Why you also add to his previous response?
I think let me correct an impression here.
Okay.
I made reference to Monica. I describe her as Monica Williams. No, Monica Lewinsky.
Okay.
In the 90s, we didn't know much about internet. We were not we were not introduced to the internet services. The social media space was not that popular and common in the African society. Uh, Not just Nigeria alone. In 2025, Parliament sponsored a bill, and it became a law, the misuse of the social media space. They have a similar law like the Nigerian Cybercrime Prohibition, Prevention, etc. Amendment Act 2024. In the Western world, as you agree with me, they are the pioneers, they champion, they introduce the social media platform. They created and model and make life easy for themselves to use the social media platform, the Facebook, the Instagram now as the WhatsApp, all came from the Western world. So as time goes on, they also saw the need to introduce the cybercrime law. They also saw the need to to introduce cyber security to curb the excesses of criminality using the cyberspace. In Nigeria and elsewhere in Africa, we're just getting used to it. You can imagine the earliest we had as a law was in 2015 in Nigeria, and which was amended.
Which is almost contemporary. So.
Exactly, which was amended in 2024.
Before.
In 2024, when it was passed into law, I personally challenged it, and I was of the opinion that this law was just targeted at the dissenting voices,
Okay.
those that will raise the opposition views about the government policies. I said, how do you compare it? There is the freedom of, when you look at it critically, the amended law, that is the 2024 cybercrime law, you see obviously that that law was just prepared to protect those in power.
Yes, yes.
It
I
was
can recall
mainly,
that.
yes, it was mainly put into law, into enforcement to protect them. Or if you come up with any
Hate speech
information,
or all those things.
yes, gaining access, section 3 of the cybercrime law says gaining access to one's phone, computer without authorization, it amounts to a crime and you are punishable for 2 years imprisonment. They went further in section 10 of the same cybercrime law that if you record a conversation, even though you are a party to that discussion, section 10 of the cybercrime law prohibits you from even sending out that record without the authorization of the person you had that conversation with. So from all what they had put out, it shows that they had had these experiences. They must have been discussing and somebody tapped into the conversation. Although I totally agree with that law, but the main purpose and which the United Nations, the EU had warned Nigerian government, don't use this new cyber law to attack the dissent views.
Okay.
In all, if they can be sincere at implementing this law, it will help us a great deal.
Okay.
Somebody had an experience, he had a conversation with a sister in brotherhood in Calabar. And before you know it, the person got a call from the United Kingdom that you had a discussion with so person, you mentioned the person's name, they have you on record.
Wow.
That is a criminal offense. The cybercrime prohibits it. Without the person's authorizing you, you recorded the conversation and you said it. It's very common in Calabar. And which you are saying that if you know the law now, you should desist from doing that. Even if you have the record, you let the person know, I had you on record. Do I have your consent to send it out? And that's it.
So such a person who commits such act will be charged.
Yes.
There is a penalty for it.
2 years.
Fine,
You
fine.
go to
I'm
prison
asking
for
this
2
for a
years.
reason.
You go to prison for 2 years.
Okay.
If you record my voice and I did not authorize you and you send it out, I'm aware of it, I will raise a complaint and you will go to prison for 2 years. Whether you participate in that conversation or not, it is an offense, a criminal offense, as prescribed by the Cybercrime Act to 2024.
Okay.
But you know, when they push forward to say, if you have an information, a classified information, and you let it out, that you also be punished, even up to 17 years imprisonment.
Please take that again.
If you have a classified information,
Okay.
an information that is
Controversial.
considered
Okay.
as very secret, you don't need to divulge it in the public domain. Once you get that information and you make it known to the public, you've committed a cyber crime.
Wow.
That is the new law. You've committed a in fact, the new law even went as far as compelling data companies, technological companies, that is service providers, to give them information of any conversation, any message that was sent via their platform. And once you do that, you are now putting out a criminal position where there is another aspect of the law, the Freedom of Information Act. It's also 2015 that says you have the right to demand for even a classified information, to even get a privileged information about government activities.
But from the authorized
Yes,
source.
from the authorized source.
Okay.
Now, when you get such information and you are confronted with the Cybercrime Act, the Cybercrime Act 2024, and they are prosecuting you for that offense, of course, you will rely on the Freedom of Information Act 2015.
Please, we'll have to continue from this point where you have stopped. Let's go on a short break. When we come back, the discussion continues. Please stay tuned. Thank you for staying tuned to the Regnum Continuous Legal Education here on Star Cross Television. And of course, the topic we are still looking at is cyberbullying and the law part 2. Cyberbullying and the law part 2. This is the live broadcast. We are open for you to send in your comments. Do want to also send in your questions. We are here to talk to you, to deliberate together, to interact together. I feel that's the word. Let's interact together, right? I still remain P. Smith, and I still have wonderful resource persons here. And of course, Brother Justice Anyakwa was still on a course. Please, sir, continue while you're also looking at specifically the legal models of other countries.
Having observed rightly the few sections that the cybercrime provided for or prescribed as conduct that is criminalized. I would rather opine that no matter how beautiful the cybercrimes act present itself, it is not enough to take care of the social media space.
Okay.
It is not enough.
But I think looking at the social media, there is a platform or a model for maybe if you have such incidents or maybe you're affected with such, you can actually report.
Yes, yes, but I mean, if you look at it, the Nigerian typical law, it's not elaborate enough.
Okay.
It's not elaborate enough. You did mention about children. I could recall, and I couldn't mention it earlier, that when you talk about recording somebody without his consent, some children in school will just take up their phones and record their fellow classmates, their colleagues, or their fellow kids in school and put it out. The children are easily exposed to internet activities. Some children cannot stay without telephone. They cannot stay without the computer system. And it is becoming so abusive. They are exposed to a whole lot of... Now, when you compare what happens in Nigeria, how the speed the social media or the internet space is consuming our children, 137.8 million Nigerian children suffers cyberbullying.
That's a huge number.
Cyberbullying. So many of them. Now, when you consider that high rate of casualties or those that are involved in internet activities, you now want to accept the fact that the Australian legal system for curbing cyber crimes should have been the best for Nigeria.
Which is?
Which is, if you are a child, a minor, less than 18 years, you are prohibited from using the internet.
Okay.
That is what the Australian government came up with. And I will rightly recommend it for Nigerian government. Because the bulk of those that suffers cybercrime offenses, those that are involved in cyberbullying, falls within the range of the age of 18 downwards. I mean, if you bully me as an adult, by virtue of my age, I know how to go about it. But the children below 18 years, the trauma they go through, the psychological impact, the depression you send them into. In America, even in China, in the United Kingdom, a whole lot of children are suffering. They commit suicide because of cyberbullying. So for us to get it right, I mean, we should take up the Australian model, and Nigeria will be safe.
Wow. So children from the age of 18 below shouldn't be
yes.
allowed. Because I understand that in Nigeria here, you see a child of 10 years old, he's already, he's already, you know, on social media. He's even doing what you haven't done as an adult. Thank you so much, sir. That's a very beautiful one. Now, let's look at cyberbullying and morality, the biblical injunctions. You know, we can't just conclude on this discussion without looking at the biblical injunctions. So I don't know, Brother John, please help us with that.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. Well, it is often said that before the laws, man has been in existence. And then I've always wanted to believe that, or I've always believed that the moral codes are the first law before civilization sets in. Apparently, there are some biblical provisions that talks or warns children of God from really engaging in cyber stalking, cyber bullying. If you look at basically the book of Matthew chapter 12, chapter 7, verse 12, which is popular amongst us, it says, "So in everything, do unto others what you will have them do unto you. For this is the sum of law and the prophet." The Bible is simply telling us that we should, as individuals, treat others the way we want to be treated. If we know that any act or inaction that we may carry out will affect another person, it is very, very important that we refrain from them. That's what the Bible is saying. And then, as children of God, I always believe that most of all these laws are a reproduction of what the Bible already provides for. If we adhere strictly to the dictates of the teachings of our Father, we adhere strictly to the dictates of what is provided in the Bible, there won't be, most of all these laws won't even be applicable in the first place. The truth about it is that we as children of God, we know what is right and we know what is wrong. So if going by the fact that, first of all, morally, we know that it is wrong to cyberstalk an individual or your brother, we know that it is wrong to, carry out some certain acts, probably that with the intention of, blackmailing, or that it will be injurious to that individual, or using another person's face, like in this case now, impersonating another, just to cause harm or probably gain some level of financial benefits. If we look at it from the biblical verse, we look at it from that perspective, and we know that all these things we are doing as children of God are really, really wrong. It will help, give us a better society. Even the book of Psalm, chapter 82, 3-4, the Father encourages us to defend ourselves, to stand up and defend ourselves, defend the weak, defend the powerless, uphold the cause of the poor and the oppressed, deliver them from the hands of the wicked. That is basically what that scripture is saying. So my own concern about the Cyber Crime Act of Nigeria is the fact that it is basically intended, or it's basically a tool of oppression to the disadvantaged. That's just it. If we can recall vividly when this act was passed into law, it was in 2015 during the late President Mohamed Buhari's time, when there were a series of criticism on the internet. People were calling the president all sorts of names, and then the vice president came up to make a statement and said, anybody who makes hate speech. I don't know if people can recall when the word hate speech came on board. And then the president now saw the need to now pass that law to see how they can regulate. But to me, that is an act of suppression. If the Constitution provides for freedom of speech, and then you are now saying there's no freedom, you are not saying that there's no freedom after speech, it contravenes the Constitution, and then it limits that freedom of expression. If I hold an opinion and I cannot express it because I feel that there's an act or there's a law passed by the National Assembly which limits me from making such speech, then the whole essence of putting the government in check has been defeated. So, but as children of God, basically, our Father encourages us to, uphold our moral standard. And then we know things that are right. We know things that are wrong. When we uphold these dictates, you do unto others what you want others to do to you. You don't say things that are thought-provoking, which is targeted towards, demeaning a fellow individual. The society will be a better place. So that is it.
Okay. For that beautiful explanation. It's always a very interesting thing when a lawyer quotes the Bible because you don't know what will come up next. Thank you so much. All right. Okay, let's move further because we are slowly or swiftly coming to the end of this particular adjudication. Now, let's look at some of the procedural steps you think a victim can, use in pursuing justice, such a person facing cyberbullying case.
There are quite a lot, depending on which aspect of the law you want to apply. If it's criminal, you go by complaint. You can write a petition complaining of an act of cyberbullying. You make provision evidence to show that indeed you are bullied in the internet space. That petition can be addressed to the IGP, that is the Inspector General of Police, Nigerian Police Force, or the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, where the law had empowered them to carry out investigation, invite the person complaining against. If it is justiciable, the person can be charged or arraigned in court for cybercrime offenses. I mean, they are very quite explicit. If it's for civil, which my brother John Osani has rightly said it, that the civil aspect of the law is essentially to compensate you for damages. Once an act of cyberbullying had been established, you are entitled to compensation, monetary compensation, for the damages that such act of cyberbullying had cost you.
Okay.
And that is how you can get justice once you complain of the offense of cyberbullying or cyber stalking. Because the intention is to discredit you, to make you depressed, to put you in the bad light, and create an impression that you are not a good person. So when you approach the two sides, and which of course you can as well complain for the criminal aspect of it. While the person is being prosecuted, you can also approach the High Court for a civil redress, and which, of course, you will be rewarded monetarily. When my brother talked about the moral aspect of it, I remember Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29. The Holy Bible says, let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth. I mean, when your heart is corrupt, your mind is corrupt, the tendencies are very obvious that you will indulge in cyber crimes.
Okay.
Is either you use it to defraud, you use it to bully, you use it to threaten. And when we talked about the offenses, the punishment, which I said varies, once you see these terrorists come out to say, we will kill him, their victim, if you don't make available so amount of money. They can also, even where they are charged for terrorism, they can also be, or for kidnap, they can also be charged for cyberbullying. They can also be, and it amounts to sentencing, or the punishment is life imprisonment.
Life imprisonment.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Now let's get a final advice from you to our audience watching.
Basically, since we have this platform, a religious, faith-based platform, my worry, and I hope that we'll learn from it, this concept of recording private conversations, it worries me a lot. It does not make you a smart person. It does not make you a morally upright person. You end up creating more problems in the religious circle. So we should desist forthwith. It's about love. If I hear something that is uncomplimentary about some other person from someone, I have the right to confront, chastise the person. Why did you say this? Rather than creating enmity. Nobody is perfect except God himself. So I will simply say that let us live and let love lead us. That is my own thing.
Okay, thank you so much, Brother Justice Ayakwa. And of course, he's saying that let's live, or let brotherly love continue wherever we find ourselves. So before we say goodbye to this particular edition, let's look at our Facebook page briefly. Starting with, I have here Sister Gladys Anyebo again. Special greetings to our beloved presenter, DVP Smith, and our guest speakers, His Grace Barrister Justice Ayakwa and Barrister John. Kudos to Starcross TV for beaming live to the entire world. Simply the best TV station. And of course, I can also see another brother. I can see you all. I can see you all from you watching via our Facebook page and also on our YouTube page. On our Facebook, I can see Brother Daniel Ekong here. Thank you, Father. Still from Sister Gladys. Very interesting and educative topic. So that's how far we can go on this edition of Regnum Continuous Legal Education. Thank you so much, sir. We sincerely appreciate your time here, and of course to Brother Sam John Usani, who also joined us on the conversation. Thank you so much. We sincerely appreciate. And to all of you watching via YouTube, via your TV in the house, or via our Facebook page, we want to say thank you so much for staying glued. And we promise to always bring you more interesting topic to look at, to discuss. Remember that there is no ignorance before the Lord. This is my quote, and I'll be taking that every time I come to you, so that tomorrow you'll not say I was not told. You have to, just like you're equipping yourself with biblical discussions, you also have to equip yourself with the law, so that wherever you go, you can represent yourself and represent your Father very well. Until we meet again, I remain Peace Smith. Enjoy the rest of the program on Starcross Television. Bye for now.